Good evening. Before we begin tonight, a caution for the program. Some of the images you will see and some of the discussion may not be suitable for younger viewers, and even older viewers may find some of the things we're talking about disturbing. We encourage you to exercise discretion. Now to the news. Montreal police late this afternoon announced plans to charge 29-year-old Luka Magnotta with second-degree murder and indignity to a human body. That's in connection with a gruesome crime that has captivated Canada and the world. Magnotta is accused of killing his victim, dismembering the body, and then mailing some of the body parts to the headquarters of the Conservative Party of Canada and the Liberal Party of Canada. At this hour, he remains at large, and police have issued a nationwide warrant for his arrest and even asked international police for help. Our coverage of this story begins in our Ottawa newsroom with reporter Daniel Pousalidis, who's been tracking developments in this story all day. Daniel, bring us up to speed on the latest on the investigation to track down and find Magnotta.
Well, he's still at large, and police have suggested that he may be in France. There are reports that possibly Magnotta left Montreal on the 25th of May, so last Friday, and allegedly left for Paris. Could be in France, could be in Eastern Europe, some say, but really his whereabouts are not known. He does go by several names, Eric Clinton Newman, Vladimir Romanov, and so police have asked for the help of Interpol, as you've mentioned, in order to help track him down. That international warrant for his arrest goes to 190 countries, so it's a pretty wide net that is being cast to find Magnotta.
Now, our social media reporter Gina Phillips was reporting today that Magnotta has left an incredible amount of information online. We're seeing some of the images right now from Facebook pages, various YouTube sites. What information about the suspect, Luka Magnotta, have police been providing to us at this point?
Well, they've talked about the way that he changes his ID, not just the pseudonyms that he uses, but also he changes his look, wears wigs. There is perhaps some speculation that he has a Russian passport. We also know that he is a Toronto native, that he is Canadian, police have also talked about the speculation that he may have been dating schoolgirl killer Karla Homolka. That is something that Magnotta himself denied in a 2007 interview with the Sun's Joe Warmington, and it is something that police have now backed off of. They should have said, they say, that they were talking about rumors that he was connected in some way with Homolka, not that he actually had been dating her. So that's kind of the information that police have released to this point.
We have one victim right now, a dismembered body. There was apparently a note in one of these packages that was mailed warning of more violence. Do police at this point consider Magnotta to be a threat to public safety?
Well, they always say that, you know, when you're dealing with a deranged killer, that there is always a danger in that case. We do know that in this case, though, and police have stressed this, the victim was known to the killer, and this was not a random attack. Criminologists have also shed some light on this issue. You know, they say that you can't commit the kind of murder that we're talking about here without being a sociopath, without having really a complete lack of empathy and a stunted emotional development from some events early on in your life. So that's the kind of person that police have said that would have committed this murder.
Now, let's jump ahead to the victim. We know that, as you said, police are saying the victim was known to Magnotta. What else do we know about the victim in this case? Do we know a name, for example?
We don't know a name, but police likely do have an identity. They haven't said yet whether there is a DNA match between the body that was found outside Magnotta's apartment building and the hand that was meant to be mailed to the Liberal Party of Canada, and the foot that was mailed to the Conservative Party headquarters in Ottawa. Police have also said that he's a man in his 30s, the victim was, of Asian descent. He was not originally from Montreal, apparently. His family is outside of Canada, and there is some speculation that police are having difficulty reaching his family because they are outside of Canada. Also, the body that we're talking about here, the body of the victim, was savagely cut, and I think that is part of what is slowing down the DNA search and what was initially very difficult for police to actually identify and come up with a name.
Daniel Prusalidis reporting in our newsroom tonight. Thank you, Daniel.
Anytime.
Now, as we mentioned, he is still on the loose. There is a warrant for his arrest. Here is a description of Luka Magnotta. He is 5'10". He weighs 134 pounds. He has brown hair, although it is sometimes dyed, and he has blue eyes, though he sometimes wears colored contacts. If you see him, you're asked to contact police immediately. Now, the Toronto Sun's Joe Warmington is one of the only journalists to have ever interviewed Luka Magnotta. Joe spoke to Luka back in 2007 when there were these rumors swirling about a possible romantic relationship with convicted killer Karla Homolka. And Joe could tell something was off. I remember reading that column. Joe Warmington joins me now to look back on this meeting with this alleged killer. And Joe, I very much got the sense, and we've all been looking back at that column, that this guy he spooked you out when you met him in 2007. Tell us about it. Yeah,
you're right, David. I mean, in retrospect, that's exactly the way I look at it. And if you read the column, as I did just earlier today, one more time, I actually said in it that if his friends want to help him, now's the time to help him. I don't think I've ever written that before or since. So clearly, I was concerned at the time. A lot of water under the bridge since then, so I can't remember every detail, but he was definitely somebody that you just don't run into every day.
And we're showing the video right now, Joe. This is a video that you took back in 2007 that was taken in the Sun headquarters in Toronto. How did it come about? Did he reach out to you? Because, of course, anything Karla Homolka is big news in Canada. How did these rumors go out there? How did it happen?
I heard him talking on the radio. He'd phoned in. They were talking about the internet on the radio, David, and he phoned in to the station here, AM 640, and he was talking about, in a very frantic way, about emotional, that his life had been ruined because of the internet, of these rumors of that he was Karla Homolka's boyfriend. Now, I think she'd either just been released or was about to be released, something like that. It was fresh in 2007 of her release. So I tracked him down through the internet. I Googled his name. He said his name right on the show. And the next day, he offered to do an interview with me. And, I was supposed to go see him somewhere, but I just didn't have the right feeling. So I had him come into the Sun. And Veronica Henry and I, she handled the camera work, and we interviewed him in the lobby. A lot of people today have come up to me, colleagues remember him, as they were walking in and out of the cafeteria, saying that they had jokes about him looking like Billy Idol and things like that. But the one thing that I said to him, David, was, "Are you trying to look like Paul Bernardo?" And he kind of gave me a smile or a smirk. And in retrospect, I was up all night thinking about that and all the rest of it, and wishing that I had kind of clued in. I just didn't think that he was dangerous. I thought he was just a bit of a nut bar.
Part of his background, he apparently was a male porn star, engaged in some gay porn movies.
That's what he says.
Perhaps worked as a male stripper at a strip club in Toronto. When you spoke to him, what was your impression of his intelligence, emotional intelligence? What was the feel as the way he expressed himself?
He wasn't interested in anybody else in the conversation except for him. His eyes barely moved. They moved around, but they didn't blink. And he had these piercing eyes, but you could see almost right in them. So I thought he was on some sort of a narcotic. He didn't seem interested in very self-absorbed, narcissistic, not unlikable. He seemed like, somebody you kind of felt sorry for in a mental health, perhaps drug-addicted kind of way. And that's why both Veronica Henry and myself offered to get him some help, and even followed up with some phone calls to his agent at the time, which I've lost track of. But he said, I have a therapist, but he gave some foreshadowing ideas in there about his dog being killed, things like that. So it was eerie, I'll tell you that, David.
You've met so many characters, good and bad, in your career, and profiled so many of them.
Yeah.
Where is this guy sort of ranked, especially given what he's accused of now?
I think he's right up there, I'll tell you that. I can't think of anybody else that, I've interviewed people before who have been later charged for first-degree murder. It happened here in Toronto a couple years ago. My colleague Chris Doucette and I, and a woman that was murdered, and her neighbor was later charged and convicted for a murder. And he had this big song and dance about what a wonderful woman she was and why would anybody do this. And of course, he ended up being the guy that was convicted. So it's not like I didn't, I've had it happen a few times, but not like this. And the 5 years removed. But throughout the years, I've thought of him. I don't Google much. I'm You know, in fact, it was you that got me on the Twitter in the first place. And, you know, now that I'm on it, I can't get off it. But the thing is that I don't follow that stuff as closely because I'm more of a field guy. So I had lost track of Luka Magnotta. Now when I look on the web, I cannot believe that this guy could be anywhere or anybody. And he is a master at today's technology. And David, the other thing is about this video that was posted. The fact that a snuff film and a murder scene was made mainstream, prime time, and many people that would never see something like that did. I think that this is a very disturbing part of the story that we can't gloss over. The same as the lawyer from the States who called in to Toronto Police and was laughed off. All these things need to be reviewed at the appropriate time.
Joe Warmington of the Toronto Sun, I know we'll be writing much more and talking about this much more in the days ahead. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
David, always good to be with you.